Portland Trail Blazers were just eliminated in 6 games by the Denver Nuggets in the 2021 playoffs, and there has been rumors speculating that Damian Lillard could finally request a trade out of Portland. We know how loyal Damian Lillard is to that city and that team, but I don't think that the Blazers will ever get to an NBA Finals with the roster they've constructed around Damian Lillard. So today, I'm going to be giving you guys 10 possible realistic trades that we could see happen in the 2021 offseason involving Damian Lillard. Now, the Blazers could go 2 different routes. They could just run this team back and try to say they overachieve next year and maybe can make it to the conference finals, and then it's fair game. Or they can go the route of possibly trading Jusuf Nurkic or CJ McCollum to change up this team, and maybe it works differently around Damian Lillard. It can get them to the next round and maybe going on a little bit forward. I just don't think option number 1 is very likely. They did fire Terry Stotts. I think if they run this team back, even with Rocco, Nurkic, CJ McCollum, this team is not good enough to go up against the better teams in the Western Conference at the moment with the LA teams, Phoenix, Utah, and Denver, and even Dallas, I think. The second option, I don't think Nurkic gets you a trade that could be any better than what you have with Nurkic. A CJ McCollum trade could be interesting. I just think that they might go the other option of blowing it up and trading Damian Lillard, or maybe just taking a step back or a couple steps back. So yeah, I have 10 trades that we're going to talk about here today. Drop a like if you guys do enjoy the video. I'd really appreciate it, and let's get into it. Also, let me know down below your favorite trade we mentioned. So 2 things before we get into the 10 trades. We have to look at 2 aspects of Damian Lillard that can make this trade go down. First, Damian Lillard's age and contract. He's currently 30 years old. He'll be 31 next month, so going into the 2022 season, he'll be over 30 years old, and he has 5 years left on his contract at the moment. So when a team acquires Damian Lillard, they're going to be getting him under contract for 4 years, which makes his value go up. And then the second thing we have to look at is other trades that happened recently involving guards that I think I want to make this work around. The first one is the more recent one in James Harden, who was traded from the Houston Rockets to the Brooklyn Nets, and mainly in exchange from the Nets, they got Karis LeVert, Jared Allen, Rodinos Karooks, 3 unprotected first-round picks from the Nets in 2022, 2024, and 2026, and then also 4 unprotected pick swaps in 2021, 23, 25, and 27. So this is going to cost mainly around 2 to 3 first-round picks, and I'd say around 2 to 4 pick swaps involving at least 2 young players. But I could also see the Blazers not wanting to completely tear this team down in Portland, still try to contend for a playoff spot while also accumulating assets, so maybe they would want a veteran player that could still play at a semi-all-star level. And then the other trade I was looking at was the Jrue Holiday trade. So this has to go for more value over Jrue Holiday, especially because Jrue Holiday was basically on an expiring contract, and he went for a veteran player in Eric Bledsoe, another veteran player in George Hill, by also getting 3 future first-round picks and 2 pick swaps. So I think, yeah, it's got to be a lot more than that, because Damian Lillard is a significantly better player than Jrue Holiday, but I would say that James Harden's a better player than Damian Lillard. So it's got to be kind of right in between, but more on the James Harden side. So let's get into these 10 trades. So the first trade we have is some other news that's going on with the Dallas Mavericks, and this would be a Kristaps Porzingis for Damian Lillard trade. Now, it has some other pieces as well. I'll be going into why it makes sense for each team. So the Portland Trail Blazers would be getting Kristaps Porzingis, Jalen Brunson, Josh Green, and Tyler Bey. 2 young, inexperienced players that were drafted in 2020 in Green and Bey, but still have potential. Jalen Brunson, that's proved he can be one of the best 6th man and playmaking guards at his size in this league. And then Kristaps Porzingis, who had a good regular season. He did not perform well in the playoffs against the Clippers, but maybe in a new scheme, playing with CJ McCollum, maybe Jusuf Nurkic, Norman Powell, he'd be a little bit better in Portland, and maybe he would be the guy there, and that's where he can succeed a little bit more. They would also be getting 3 pick swaps from the Dallas Mavericks in 2022, 2025, and 2024. I don't know why I went out of order there. And only 1 first-round pick, so the kind of thing limiting the Mavericks here in a trade is that they already gave 2 first-round picks to the Knicks. The Knicks get their first-round pick this year in 2021, and in 2023, it'll be top 10 protected. So the Mavericks don't have the most draft capital to off Portland, but Dallas, in return for this trade, they'd be getting Damian Lillard, obviously one of the best point guards, one of the best scorers, one of the best players in the NBA, to give Luka Doncic that co-star option that they thought they were getting in Kristaps Porzingis, and they get Robert Covington to help improve their defense. And I think that teams can maybe ask for a Robert Covington or a Yusuf Nurkic in one of these trades, because Rocco has 2 years left, actually 1 year left after this year. Nurkic has 1 year left. I think they could be looking to just include them in the trade so they don't have to pay them down the line. And this would make sense, I believe, for Dallas because they're giving up KP and getting Damian Lillard. I think that's a swap they would do any day of the week. They get Robert Covington, a nice 3-and-D player to help improve their defense. I wouldn't rely too much on his shooting to be that consistent, but they get a good defensive player, somebody they could definitely use in their rotation. They lose Brunson, they lose Green, they lose Bey, but they were very good this year without Green and Bey. Brunson would be a big loss, but with THJ stepping up, I think they could afford the Brunson loss because they might not want to pay him down the line anyway. So I think this would make sense for Dallas, a little bit more than it makes sense for Portland, because this isn't a total rebuild here. They're getting KP, who can still help them be good. Same with Jalen Brunson, and you're only getting 3 swaps and 1 first-round pick, so I don't think this would be the most likely trade for Portland, but they would definitely be intrigued by getting Kristaps Porzingis in a Damian Lillard trade. Next up, we have another trade that involves them getting a borderline all-star player at some point. It is involving the Boston Celtics, so the Celtics would be getting Damian Lillard, just him, and the Portland Trail Blazers would be getting Kemba Walker, Robert Williams, Aaron Nesmith, a 2021 first-round pick, a 2022 first-round pick, a 2023 pick swap, a 2025 pick swap, and a 2027 first-round pick. So 3 first-round picks and 2 swaps, including 2 young players in Williams and Nesmith, and including Kemba Walker. So Kemba Walker and TJ McCollum would still be a solid backcourt in the Western Conference. They can still compete for the play-in tournament and maybe like a 6th seed at some point there in the competitive West. They get 2 young players. If they like Aaron Nesmith's shooting, they could use him in their rotation in Portland. Robert Williams is maybe the potential big to succeed Yusuf Nurkic if they want to maybe look at a Nurkic trade or move on from him. They do get 3 first-round picks, but with Brown and Tatum, those picks will probably never be that valuable, even in 2027, because Brown and Tatum will still be young by then and actually in their primes, and those pick swaps probably won't have that much value either. I just wanted to include a Celtics trade because I think they would be interested in trying to unload Kemba for Lillard. It might cost them another pick swap and maybe another first-round pick just because maybe Kemba Walker's contract is looked as a negative asset right now, which it definitely could be. So I think this trade is more on the unlikely side for Portland, but I think Boston would do this in a heartbeat, even if they have to add Langford and another first and another pick swap. The next trade I have for you guys is involving the Golden State Warriors. So the Warriors will be just getting Damian Lillard in this trade, but the Blazers get a nice return in for him for their future. They get Andrew Wiggins, who's still fairly young. They could look to unload Wiggins in a year and just try to compete with Wiggins and McCollum there just for 1 year, but they get James Wiseman, the 2nd overall pick in 2020, who showed some flashes as a very good center in this league. They get a 2021 first-round pick from Minnesota. I think they would want to do this trade if that pick is at 4 or at 5 and it conveys to Golden State, because if it is 1, 2, or 3, it goes to Minnesota. So if Portland could possibly add a Jalen Suggs, a Jalen Green, or a Jonathan Kuminga to their team for the future, I think they'd love to do that. They'd get the 14th pick in this draft from the Golden State Warriors. They can add another talent like a James Bouknight, a Cam Thomas, a Moses Moody, a Franz Wagner, somebody like that, and they get a 2025 pick swap. So they get a really good young player in James Wiseman. They get a solid, I guess you would call him a vet now, in Andrew Wiggins that they can maybe unload in a year or 2 from now, and then they also get another lottery pick and a pick swap down the line. I think this is the best trade that I've shown you guys so far, because I think if the Blazers are looking to rebuild, it would be nice to start with the 4th or 5th overall pick in this draft, James Wiseman, the 14th pick. I think that's a nice trio in return for Lillard. And then you also get Andrew Wiggins, who can help you win now still, and then a swap down the line. And in 2025, who knows how the Warriors are going to be. Curry's going to be a lot older. Clay and Draymond are going to be a lot older. Even Lillard will be a lot older. So I think that could be enticing as well coming down the line there. And this is my favorite trade I've shown you guys so far. I still think that maybe the Blazers would want a little bit more, because the Warriors do have a first-round pick already going to Memphis in 2024. So I think that maybe Portland, like, they're enticed about this trade and very intrigued, but they would probably ask for maybe another swap and first-round pick. Next up, we have a New Orleans Pelicans team, a team that is trying to just catapult into the elite Western Conference level. They have 2 great young players in Brandon Ingram and Zion Williamson, so they'd be looking to add kind of that head honcho, that main guy, Damian Lillard there, and then let Zion develop behind Damian Lillard, which would be great for his development in my opinion. So they'd be giving them 2 young players in Jackson Hayes and Kyra Lewis. Eric Bledsoe to maybe just giving them a vet in return. They may prefer to ask for Steven Adams, but then they're basically giving them a lot of draft capital for the future. Basically, most of the capital they got in the Anthony Davis and Drew Holiday trades. They'd be getting a 2022 first-round pick from the Lakers, a 2022 first-round pick from the Pelicans. I also didn't mention, they're getting the Pelicans lottery pick this year as well. They're getting a 2023 swap with the Lakers and the Pels. So whoever is the worst team out of the Lakers and Pels in 2023, the Blazers get that pick. A 2025 first-round pick from the Pels, a 2025 first-round pick from Milwaukee, and a 2026 first-round pick from the Pels. So they're getting 7 first-round picks in exchange for Damian Lillard. I know those picks might not be the most valuable, but who knows where the Pelicans and Lakers and Bucks will be at in a couple years. But getting 7 first-round picks, 2 young players, and a vet in exchange for Damian Lillard is something you definitely would have to at least listen to. Next up, I just needed to throw in an LA Lakers shade. I think it would be extremely hard to do. I think Portland would never trade Damian Lillard to the Lakers unless he was like, I only want to go there, and they would give respect to their arguably best player in franchise history up there with Clyde Drexler. You guys know what I mean. So the Lakers would have to do a sign and trade with Taylor Horton-Tucker and Dennis Schroeder. They'd be giving them KCP and Kyle Kuzma, 2 pick swaps and 2 first-round picks. I don't think that the Portland Trailblazers would really accept that, but I think that the Lakers would still try to get it done. So it's still a realistic offer that the Lakers can call Portland on. I think this is the best thing they could give them because obviously LeBron and AD are off limits and they want to set a big 3 up with LeBron, AD, and Lillard. I think this possibly joins the Boston Celtics as the least unlikely trade out of these 10. I just had to come up with a third of the league trading for Damian Lillard, and I wanted to come up with realistic options because I would like to think that Portland would trade and respect Damian Lillard enough to trade him to a team on its way up or a contender already. So I eliminated teams like Houston and OKC and Minnesota, teams that have draft capital and young players, but I just don't think that they would trade Damian Lillard too. So I had to include the LA Lakers. This is the best offer I can come up with, and I don't think that Portland would necessarily do this trade. Next up, we have a trade that I kind of love. So the Philadelphia 76ers at this moment are down 1-0 to the Hawks, and I still think that they're going to win the series and they still have a chance of winning the NBA Finals. I'm just saying if they end up losing to the Hawks, which I just said I don't think will happen, or they kind of get embarrassed by the Bucks or Nets in the next round, I think they would look at a potential Damian Lillard for Ben Simmons trade. This includes Ben Simmons, Matisse Thybulle, their first round pick this year, and a 2024 first round pick going to Portland in exchange for just Damian Lillard. Now, for Philly, this kind of lets them avenge not trading for James Harden and what happened there. Now, obviously, there was the whole Daryl Morey, Tim Furtada saga that I don't think that the Rockets were ever going to trade Harden to Daryl Morey. But still, you can get that amazing shot creator, that amazing three-point shooter, that amazing scorer next to Joel Embiid, keeping Tobias Harris, keeping Maxey and your other veterans on the team. You do have to lose Thybulle, but I think losing Thybulle and Simmons will hurt their defense, but they still have defensive playmakers on the wing, and they could maybe even ask for a Robert Covington in this trade. And then also they get 2 first-round picks. I think for Portland, this kind of makes sense because you're getting a top 20 guy in the NBA, somebody that's going to finish top 2 in Defensive Player of the Year voting, and is one of the more versatile players in the NBA when it comes to his transition play, his playmaking, his defense. Obviously, it lacks shooting, but they could maybe work him out there with CJ McCollum. You're getting a good young defender in Matisse Thybulle, and if he can hit the threes consistently when he's kind of getting more acclimated to his style of play, boy, he's going to be one of the best 3-and-D players in the NBA. And you're getting 2 first-round picks for the future. I think this is a great return for Portland, and I would think they would have to think about this trade a lot. And for Philly, I think I would be willing to pull this trigger. I think I would rather give up Matisse Thybulle than Tyrese Maxey. Those first-round picks with Damian Lillard shouldn't be too high a value. Yeah, so you're basically giving up the most important player, Ben Simmons, for Damian Lillard, and you got to do that. Next up, we have my favorite trade that I came up with, and it involves the Denver Nuggets. So it would be the Denver Nuggets shipping Jamal Murray, Bol, Zeke Naji, a 2021 first-round pick, and a 2022 pick swap to the Denver Nuggets for Damian Lillard. Now, for the Denver Nuggets, they're getting a top 10 player in the NBA to add on to already another top 10 player they have in Nikola Jokic. You still get to keep one of your good young players in Michael Porter Jr., so he's kind of your future there, and Jokic is still fairly young. And you're basically replacing your borderline all-star point guard this year who got hurt, and you're still in the second round without him and could potentially go to the NBA Finals without him. 2 players that were not in their rotation but are still young that could entice Portland. 2 first-round picks, or at least a pick and then a pick swap for Lillard, and I think Denver would have to do this trade 100%. Maybe it would be a little bit bitter for Portland to trade Damian Lillard in division, but I feel like division play isn't too much in the league anymore, and the team that eliminated them they ship Lillard to. But for Portland, they get one of of the better young point guards in the NBA. Jamal Murray, still very young in this league and can kind of jumpstart their rebuild. Bol and Zeke Naji, they can maybe make something at one of those guys. Possibly one could be the replacement of Yusuf Nurkic down the line when he's a free agent. You might ask for another first round pick and another pick swap, and I think that'd be completely reasonable. But I think that getting Jamal Murray in exchange for Damian Lillard would be a great jumpstart to your potential rebuild. He's under contract for the next 4 years. You don't have to worry about that. And then maybe you look to trade CJ McCollum for somebody closer to Jamal Murray's age, and you go from there. Third to last trade, we have the Toronto Raptors. They'd be sending Fred VanVleet, Chris Boucher, Malachi Flynn, 3 first-round picks in 2021, 23, and 25, and 2 pick swaps in 2024 and 2027 for Damian Lillard. So for the Blazers, they get an all-star, borderline all-star point guard, Fred VanVleet. They get a good young big in Chris Boucher and a good young point guard who showed flashes last year as a rookie in Malachi Flynn. You get 3 first-round picks and 2 swaps. I think that is very good value for Portland in return. And then for Toronto, you're maybe creating a big 3 of Damian Lillard, Pascal Siakam, and Kyle Lowry for next year's season, which could definitely compete in the Eastern Conference. And then you also have OG Anunoby on that team, and then you look to maybe acquire a big throughout the offseason. And you also have Gary Trent coming off the bench, so that would be, I think, a very nice top 7 rotation for Toronto. I think maybe Portland asked for another first round pick. I'm not sure in this trade, but I think getting VanVleet to help them still contend or just be competitive in the league, I should say. Boucher and Flynn, 2 nice young players, 3 firsts, 2 swaps. I like that return for Toronto. I definitely like some of the other returns that I mentioned before, but this one probably comes in my top 6 for them. And then the final 2 trades are to big markets that Damian Lillard can go out and say, I kind of want to go to these 2 big market teams, or just throw them in his list of criteria. So one here involves the Miami Heat, in which they would have to give, or at least pick up the team options on Iggy and Goran Dragic. They might also have to sign Trevor Ariza or Kendrick Nunn or Duncan Robinson to include in one of these trades as well. And then I think that could happen since they are restricted, so they would be a sign and trade also over to Miami. So maybe it would look something like this. Dragic pick up his team option. They do a sign and trade with Duncan Robinson and Kendrick Nunn. Also include their 2 young players from the 2020 and 2019 draft in Tyler Hero and Precious Achiuwa. 2 first-round picks in exchange for Damian Lillard and Robert Covington for the Heat. Now you created a big 3 of Lillard, Butler, and Bam Adebayo, which would make you definitely Eastern Conference contenders. You do lose a lot of your depth there, losing Dragic, Robinson, Nunn, and Hero. 4 guys that were huge parts of their championship team, or excuse me, making it to the finals last year and making it to the playoffs this year. Achiuwa, another nice young big that did play a little bit for them this year. And then also 2 first-round picks. They really don't have a lot of draft capital for the future due to some other trades they have made. So this is really the best package they can give up for Lillard. And they get Lillard and Roka, which would be a nice 3-and-D piece for them off the bench. For Portland, this is really if you still believe in Tyler Hero. If you don't, then I wouldn't do this trade. But if you do, I think getting Robinson, Nunn, Hero, and Achiuwa is great for your future, and 2 first-round picks. I would be a fan of that. Maybe try to get another first-round pick. I'm not sure. This would be a lot for Miami to give up. But hey, we said that when we were coming up with trade ideas for James Harden, and they definitely regret not doing that. So I don't think they should regret it here. Go all in on Damian Lillard. And then finally, we have my New York Knicks trading for Lillard. So they're basically pairing up Lillard with Julius Randle. The Portland Trailblazers will be trading Damian Lillard and Yusuf Nurkic to the Knicks. So the Knicks would probably let go of Nerlens Noel and have Nurkic and Mitchell Robinson as their center combo, which I think is very nice. Due to Mitchell Robinson being injury prone throughout his career, it would be nice to have some stability there at the position. And then the New York Knicks would be sending RJ Barrett, their 2019 top 3 pick, who had a great sophomore season, and this is kind of the premier prize of this trade for Portland. They get Obi Toppin, who really didn't show too many flashes as a rookie, but definitely played better in the playoffs than he did in the regular season. They get Emmanuel Quickley, who was a top 7 rookie in the league this year, and he was a late first-round pick, so his contract is beautiful. They get a 2021 first-round pick from the Knicks, 2021 first-round pick from Dallas, so I think that's 19 and 23 around there. They get a 2023 pick swap from the Knicks, the 2023 top 10 protected Dallas pick, and a 2024 top 10 protected first-round pick from the New York Knicks. So you're basically getting 4 first-round picks and a pick swap and 3 young players for Lillard. This is why I think that you should maybe consider this trade. Apparently, there's some other ones. Now, I know getting guys like Jamal Murray or Ben Simmons is very nice, but getting 3 young guys, if you want to go the full full rebuild route, go for these guys on cheap contracts, get your first round picks, get 4 first round picks, a swap, and 3 young players. I like that a lot for Portland if they're trying to tear it down completely. Now, if they're still trying to compete, yeah, go after Jamal Murray, go after Ben Simmons, go after Kemba Walker and those guys that I mentioned. But if they want to fully rebuild in Portland and they're okay with quote-unquote tanking, I would like this trade a lot for them, and this is the final trade. So yeah, those are 10 possible realistic trades for Damian Lillard in this 2021 offseason. I'm not in any front office. I don't have sources, so some trades could look completely different than what I came up with. I just wanted to give you guys 10 ideas that could happen for the Blazers if they were to allow Damian Lillard to request a trade. So let me know down below, what was your favorite trade, and then maybe something that I didn't come up with, maybe some other players or picks you could have included, or a team I'd even mention, like should Charlotte or Indiana or Sacramento or Minnesota go out and try to get Lillard, or even Utah. Just let me know all that down below. Thank you all for watching. I love you guys, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.